Hey, Bob Gardner here from thebraidedwarrior.com. Time for another Warrrior Wednesday. And today, what are we going to talk about? Today, we're going to talk about being blind. I got a story to tell you that I remember just this morning when I was in the car with my son from years ago when I went blind for a few hours. Like literally blind. My eyes stopped working. And it opened up my mind, and what triggered this was an experience in the car ride. So I'm going to share both of those with you in the hopes of helping you see places where not being able to see the future can actually cause problems for how you behave now, and maybe some things you can do about it. So what was happening? I was in a dance ensemble. I had been working super hard, and we had been rehearsing day in and day out for a big performance coming up. So like we'd done like 40 hours a week just in rehearsal. So I was tired, I was exhausted. I was coming home after practice one day. I'm sure I was dehydrated. I don't know what happened, and all of a sudden my vision started going completely dim. Totally dim. And so my vision starts going dim, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm watching as it just starts to spread black all around, and there's a weird feeling that goes on in my head. And I manage to walk up the stairs to my apartment. I look at the door, and I have to feel for where the doorknob is and where the keyhole is, and like feel where the key goes in. I can barely see an outline, and by the time I get into my apartment, my vision is completely gone, like black. And it remained that way for about 3 hours. And I remember this feeling of deep panic that started to settle on me. Panic first because in my body I was like, holy crap, I don't even know how to function in the world when I can't see, because as humans, like more than 70% of what we take our cues on is visual. So when that's gone, all your other senses have to pick up, and I'm going, how on earth am I going to survive? How am I going to live this way? And so I'm freaking out there. But then I have this freak out about my career and my future too. Because at the time I was at the university, I was at Brigham Young University, and I was studying fine arts, painting and drawing. Now you tell me how somebody who relies upon his visual sense to pick the right color, to pick the right shade, to know exactly where to put it, is going to make a career in painting. Right? Now, there's a lot of artists over the years that have gone partially blind, like Claude Monet and Chuck Close, and who became handicapped, and they had to come up with solutions around it, but they could still see a little bit, and I couldn't see at all. Now, I know that there are other people that seem to get around it in some ways, but by and large, I was freaking out. I was like, crap, my future's gone. Something is happening to me right now that makes it so that I cannot see anything that's going on around me, and I cannot even see my future. And so I started freaking out, and I started praying. Praying to Heavenly Father, God, please give me my vision back. I'll do anything. But I had to kind of come to terms with it a bit. It was an emotional experience, a feeling of complete and total helplessness. And that helplessness and that feeling of powerlessness is one of those root feelings that causes a man to go after something that maybe isn't always the healthiest thing for them. To do things that aren't the healthiest, to get involved in things that aren't the healthiest, because they're trying to find an escape from such a feeling of powerlessness. This is why I went to one of the causes why I went to pornography addiction for 18 years. And so I was sitting there in this space, and finally my vision came back, and I kind of like let it sit there. And I didn't do anything really with it other than that I had this emotional experience. So fast forward to this morning, I'm driving my son to his soccer camp. I'm taking him along the road, and we're behind a car. And there's a truck in front of me. I can see the bed, and above it, we're in Arizona. Everybody likes super tinted windows because they don't want the sunlight in their cars. And so it's like truck bed, black window. I can't see what's going on in front of me, and the truck is going 5 miles an hour under the speed limit, and there's cars in the other lane. What do I feel? Well, the feeling that first shows up is that I feel irritated and angry at the man in front of me. I'm thinking, I wasn't to the extent of road rage, and my son was in the car, and I was just telling him about it. I'm like, look, there's this guy here, and one of the things that bugs me about driving this way is that there's a guy in front of me, and he's going super slow, and I can't see, so I can't tell if he's going slow because there's another car, or if he's just going slow because, well, he's not really tuned into what's going on, or he just likes going that speed. I don't know. So I'm telling him about this, but inside I'm a little frustrated. I'm a little angry. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. I don't have a baseball bat like in the car so that I can go and take out my emotions or anything, but I'm just sitting here like, mixed up in this emotion. And suddenly I have this flashback to the time when I can't see when I'm at college. And the two start to work in my head. And I recognize between these two experiences a feeling of powerlessness. I cannot move forward in my life because I cannot see and because there's something in the way. And the thing is, while I was driving behind him, the same things occurred in my body. I couldn't see, for instance, I could not see the things going on around me. Like, I knew where the cars were, but I wasn't actually paying attention to all of the details of everything happening. The fact that my son's in the car and he's having a good time and he's excited to go to soccer camp, not on the radar. The fact that the air conditioning is on and it's giving me a good feeling in my body, not on the radar. The fact that there's kids playing, the fact that there's so many other things going on, not on the radar, because the only thing that I can see is that I can't see. And then I start to worry about the future. Oh, are we going to get to soccer camp on time? What are people going to think about us if we show up late? Is my son going to think I'm weird because, or like a disappointment because I got him to soccer camp too late? All of these things start to show up. And it's the same thing. I feel powerless, and the first thing that starts to happen is I freak out because I can't see. I feel powerless because I can't see. I feel powerless because I can't see. And then the question becomes, why is it that I cannot see? Now, in the first instance back at BYU, it was because I had been driving my body so hard that something needed to give in order for my body to be able to put things back in order. I got some water, I got some rest, and everything came back online just fine. I had been going without paying attention to what my body needed. In the case of the other one this morning, why couldn't I see? I couldn't see because I was focused on an emotion that showed up. The emotion shows up because of something that happened outside. There was some external stimulus, a guy going slow, and I'm stuck. I get a story, I feel helpless, and now I get wrapped up in the story, and now I can't see. Instead of seeing this going on and finding a solution around it, I get wrapped up in emotion, then I can't see what's going on, then I get worried about the future, whether it's 15 minutes from now or years in the future, like a career. All of that because of stories in my head and because I wasn't paying attention to myself and really paying attention to what's going on the inside. The one because of my body in college, and the other because of my emotions. So what do you do when you feel powerless in your life? What do you do when you feel like you can't see? What do you do when you feel like you don't see a way forward? Chances are you have an emotion. You haven't been paying attention to the facts inside yourself. The feelings, the stories, the thoughts that are going on, or what's going on in your body. You haven't been paying attention to it. And so it has to, in order to get your attention, it has to get louder and louder and louder and louder until it's screaming at you, or until your eyes shut off, or until you start to feel a ton of emotion. And how do you get out of it? You investigate. So as I investigated this whole process this morning, I came to a realization about how the thing that was triggering me, that was going slow and making me feel powerless, was actually reflecting to me something that was bothering me in my own life. And that was that I felt that I was moving forward slowly. And that there were people behind me, namely my family, because I'm moving forward slowly in my business. It's not growing as fast as I want or something like that, right? And so there's people behind me, namely my family, that are wanting to move faster and are frustrated because they're waiting on me and they can't get around it and they don't have an option. And I feel that pressure and I get frustrated at myself, but I don't know that on the inside. I'm not paying attention. And so then I get an outside trigger. And I see this car and I start to get upset about him. But then as I investigate, I realize it's because I was upset at me. And it helped me to decide some things that I could do today to push things forward. So there's some processes that I use in order to help investigate these things that really help you figure out what to do with what's going on. But the main thing for you to consider is that when you can't see a way out, when you can't literally see, when you can't physically see, the first thing you have to do is start to pay attention to that and to start to investigate what is really going on. Why is it you can't see? Where did it start? What is it making it happen to you? What is it causing you to feel? All of that other stuff. And inside of that investigation, what you're going to find is the answer that your life was trying to give you all along. It just wasn't loud enough to get your attention until today. So what do you do when you can't see? Simple. You investigate. You look for the facts, and then you see. Are you done?